Hello there. My name is Alamide Oetusa. My friends call me Day, and I am a licensed CPA located in the District of Columbia. Today I'm going to talk to you about managing your money and financial literacy. What is financial literacy? Financial literacy is the ability to use your money in a way that benefits you and does not cause you stress, anxiety, or helps you generate long term wealth and long term growth. I believe that financial literacy is so important because it really helps us manage our money. Your money and your finances can impact your relationships, it can impact your mental health, and it can also impact your physical health. What? Your money can impact your physical health? Yes, it can. How? Have you ever heard of a food desert? A food desert is a location, usually in lower income communities, where healthy foods are hard to come by. So, if you're low income, there's a possibility that you may live in a food desert, or you may not be able to afford costly produce. You may not be able to afford a gym membership. You may not be able to afford certain lifestyle choices that can help you be healthier. Your mental health, bills, stress, debt, all of those things can impact you. Financial literacy is so important and it touches on every aspect of our lives. So, how do we become financially literate? I mean, what do we do with our money? Unfortunately, financial literacy is not taught consistently throughout all school systems. Most people learn about money through their parents. I mean, you see your parents use it, or some people don't even learn it from there. They get their first credit card when they're in college, they get student debt. It's hard out there. So, knowing how to use your money and how to use it wisely is really, really important. So let's start talking about the four main categories, right, of evaluating your money. Once you can evaluate your money, you can evaluate how to manage it. The four main categories to look at when you evaluate your money is income, expenses, debt, and assets. Let's start with income. Income is, we all know what it is, right? It's your paycheck. It's what you get paid, whether you are self employed, whether you own your own business, whether you work for someone and you get a paycheck, whether you get an allowance from mom and dad because you're a college student. That is your income. Income is the cash flow that you have coming in, the money that you have coming in. Income is obviously big, right? Cash is king. We all want to make more money. How do you make more money, right? What do I do? Like, how do I go about making more money? There's so many ways and so many different side hustles out there. I definitely always encourage people to legitimize their hobbies. Not only does it provide many, many tax benefits because you then are able to deduct a lot of business expenses, but you can also make money in the process. Another thing, if you're looking to make more money, just know that you're going to have to make a change. I don't know what that change is going to be. It could be getting a new job, it could be moving to an area with better opportunities, it could be taking up more overtime. But there's really always something that you must do in order to make more money. As we all know, money unfortunately does not grow on trees. So, okay, let's say we've considered all the types of ways we can make more money. I can't really make more money, or I've taken all the overtime I can take. I don't really know how else to increase my income. Another little trick is to lower your expenses. So, yeah, your income is technically not actually going to increase, but by lowering your expenses, you are freeing up more of your income to do more with it, to whether save it for a large purchase, invest it so it can make money for you. Okay, let's take a step back. How do you lower your expenses, right? Like what does that even mean? Get a budget. Find a budget. A budget is a way that you can organize and plan how you're going to spend your money. You can have a weekly budget, you can have a monthly budget. When I was first saving up to purchase my first property, my first home, I budgeted by the day. I was extreme budgeting because sometimes I would think like, man, I want to budget this week. I'm going to spend this much money. By the end of the week, I would realize like I went over my budget. So in order for me to be really, really strict with myself, I set daily goals. Like I can't spend more than $50 today. That's it. And then I spend that $50, whether it's on food, whether it's on, I got to pick up some laundry detergent, whatever. Once that $50 is spent, it is spent. If I didn't spend all the $50, the next day I can spend $50 plus whatever I didn't spend the previous day. And I just put myself on a really, really, really strict budget so I could actually monitor what I was spending and what I was saving. I've heard some people use the cash envelope method. That's where you have an envelope, a physical envelope, and you write a different expense on each envelope, and you actually put your cash in the different envelopes. You can have an envelope for your car payment. You can have an envelope for eating out. You can have an envelope for extracurriculars. You can have an envelope for date nights. You can have an envelope just to help you budget and categorize. And it's a way to keep you disciplined. It's a way for you to take the little bit of cash you need out of that envelope, and then that's it. What other budgeting tools do I know? Oh, another one that I know a lot of people do is they utilize the banking features in their online banking. What is that, right? If you have Wells Fargo, Bank of America, my credit union I know has it. So I know a lot of smaller banks also have these features where you can actually go in and see how you spent your money, where the bank will actually categorize everything for you so you can see what you spent your money on. Sometimes it's not always accurate because, for example, you might go to Walmart to buy some clothes and it might categorize that as food, but you can usually recategorize it, and it's usually a really good starting point to see where you spent your money and what you need to do to adjust your budget. Okay, so now we've talked about income, we've talked a little bit about expenses. What's left, right? Liabilities and assets. So let's talk about assets first, because liabilities, that's debt, and we can get to that in a minute. Assets are basically anything that you own that provides value. Your car is an asset. Your home is an asset. Well, arguably, right? Your home could also be debt if you have a large mortgage. But generally, assets provide you value. Cash is an asset. Your stocks, your bonds, those are all assets. Have you even thought about how many assets you have? Do you have any assets? A lot of people don't think about it. In fact, a lot of people's net worth are in the negative because sometimes that's just not something we think about. We might have a little bit of money in our 401k, we might have a little car that we drive around, and that might be it. However, we might have $80,000 in student loans, and when you do the math, your debt is more than your assets. And when your debt is more than your assets, you have a negative net worth. That means you owe more than you actually have. That means your net worth is below zero. That's not where we want to be. So when we talk about assets, we're talking about retirement accounts. We're talking about stocks. We're talking about diversifying your income stream so that you can save more cash, so that you can invest in income producing assets like a home, like a car. Those are all assets. And I highly encourage you to start considering what type of assets do you want to own? Do you want to own retirement accounts that are generating money, that are paying interest? Do you want to own stocks that are paying you dividends that are going up in value? Or do you just want to own a ton of shoes that you can wear and look pretty, but that aren't really providing value for you? Really consider what your assets are. What are some of the things that are really important to you in your life? And is that item providing value to you or your family? Something to think about. So the last thing we're going to talk about is debt. Most people have debt, whether it's student loan debt, whether it is your car note, your car debt, whether it is your mortgage, whether it is credit cards, whether it is whatever kind of debt you have. It is so important to evaluate your debt. You should always know what you owe, who you owe to, and what is your interest rate. Those are so, so important. You always need to know what you owe, right? You should know how much debt you owe. If you don't know how much debt you owe, then you probably owe a little too much because that is important. And your goal should be to not have too much debt. Just a little secret, I purchased my first home when I was 25, 24 years old. I hadn't turned 25 yet, but I was mainly able to purchase a home in the District of Columbia because I didn't have any debt. I had a really, really small car note, but I didn't have any student loans. That helped me tremendously with starting out my real estate portfolio. Debt can be really tricky because not only does it hinder you from qualifying for other types of opportunities like like a business loan, a line of credit, maybe a mortgage for a home, it deters you from being able to qualify for those types of things, and it also deters you from being able to save. If you have so much debt and you're making debt payments every month, it's really hard to save money when you have to pay Sally Mae, when you have to pay Bank of America, your mortgage, when you have to pay for your car note, when you have to pay for your Nordstrom credit card. It's really hard to save when you're accumulating debt. I always recommend that people maintain at least less than 30% on their credit card balances. This is how you can keep your credit score high because most credit bureaus do not like to see that you have a large outstanding balance compared to what you are able to have outstanding. For example, let's just say you have a $10,000 credit card limit, but you have $8,000 outstanding, meaning you've spent $8,000. That means 80%. You've spent about 80% of your credit card limit. That's not a good look. You want to keep that under 30%, as low as possible. If you can get it under 10%, that's even better. That really helps your credit score. When it comes to debt, always be mindful of what you're signing up for. If you don't need it, don't get it with debt. Debt is not something that you acquire for shoes or clothes or things like that. Mm-mm. If you are going to take on debt, it should at least be for an item that's going to be providing you long term value and wealth. Ooh, that was a lot, right? So let's just take a brief summary of what we talked about. We talked about managing your money and the importance of financial literacy. We talked about income. What are some ways to increase your income? What are some decisions that you think you can make? What are some things that you think you can do to change your situation? We talked about expenses. Like sometimes, you're just making all the money you can possibly make, and there's really nothing else you can do to increase your income. That's where you start to look at budgeting and trying to lower your expenses so you can free up more of your income. And then we talked about assets. What assets do you have? Keep in mind long term investments. Investing in yourself is so, so important. Invest in a retirement account, invest in stocks. Talk to a financial advisor, talk to a CPA. And lastly, we talked about debt. It is not too late to get out of debt. I believe that anyone can get out of debt, and debt will not rule your future. I'm speaking that in existence for you, okay? Keep track of your debt. Talk to a financial advisor. Look at what your interest rates are. Pay off your debt with the highest interest rates first. Don't take on too much debt. Don't be over leveraged. That means having too much debt or that you cannot cover or pay for. Always keep that in mind whenever you take out debt. That debt is best when you are purchasing income producing assets or assets that are going to provide you value. Something to keep in mind. I'm glad you guys watched this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, definitely check out the Pachira Financials website. We have a ton of free resources there for you. Also, follow me on Instagram at Pachira Financials.